Is it?
No, good. All good.
Cool.
Yep.
Tune in.
It's just gone 20 past 12 on 95 BFM. I'm Simon Maud, your host until 1 o'clock today. Hey, before we move on, I had Phil call me up before. He reckons the youth wage rates make sense, and actually more youth will be employed and they should be given the opportunity to work more. I hope I got that right, Phil. Now, speaking of social justice, I guess, 95 BFM presents Billy Bragg live at the Auckland Town Hall this Friday, October 12. Tickets are close to selling out, so don't miss out. Get them now from buytickets.co.nz. Also, don't miss Billy Bragg appearing in person in-store at Real Groovy Records this Thursday at 5:30 p.m. for an informal Q&A session and a likely song or two.
Oh, here he comes!
Hey.
Minister!
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 How are you? Minister! Answer! Well, how's your wife?
Answer the question, Minister!
Counterclockwise with Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz.
Selwyn, calls have grown for the government to lower the value of the dollar. What's Bill English thinking?
Yeah, well, he's holding on to the old kind of way of governing the economy, obviously, and that is that the emphasis is on the Reserve Bank manipulating the interest kind of rates relating to by way of the official cash rate, Simon.
Now, let's look at that. The official cash rate is what the Reserve Bank, the amount of interest they charge out to lending banks to basically lend out money. Now, of course, higher interest rates generally restricts the flow of cash. It's the only mechanism, basically, the government, successive governments since deregulation have actually used to control our monetary rate in New Zealand. Why isn't the government seriously looking at other measures which the Greens and Labour have actually brought up, such as the Greens basically want the Reserve Bank to print more money, which in effect will devalue the dollar?
In looking at this, I think the government's got itself into an ideological ditch. Clearly overseas, you know, the whole way of governing the economies of the various major trading partners like in the United States and in the European economies, it has changed, that there is more intervention going on in those economies by way of its equivalence to the New Zealand Reserve Bank. Here in New Zealand, the National Party is resisting any call and any demands coming from both manufacturing bases, currency market bases, and also the opposition parties to actually intervene by way of the Reserve Bank. And what we're talking about there is there's been a lot of discussion in the last month where the Labour Party, New Zealand First, and the Green Party, and manufacturers around the country have been saying adjusting and manipulating the interest rates is too narrow now to actually have an effect, a positive effect on the New Zealand economy. And what it's talking about there is that band where the Reserve Bank would manipulate up or down the official cash rate that then overflows into the rates that the banks charge their mortgage interest rates and business loans, etc., is too narrow a thing now, that the economy is much more complex. And people like David Parker, the finance spokesperson for Labour, are saying, you know, every 20 years or so, the method that a government manages or governs the economy ticks over. That method ticks over. And he is saying, and many others are saying, that it is no longer satisfactory just to have that one measure. You're quite right. That's right. The only one that the Reserve Bank is obligated to the government to actually manipulate to cool or heat up the New Zealand economy.
Okay, so now my understanding of this as well is that the reason they only have the one tool is that they believe in the free market. And that, in fact, the market is self-regulating, and in fact, it achieves its own equilibrium, which is something that neoliberal economics from what's known as the Chicago School, which had Milton Friedman. There was a couple of others, lost words, but basically. I understand that senior Reserve Bank officials, the ones that actually sit around and discuss what's the best strategy, what they're going to put forward to the government, a lot of them are adherents of what's called the Chicago School of Economics, which of course is neoliberal.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think they came out of that school of thought at that time.
And this 20-year cycle, we could see a shift now.
We could, in the sense...
A philosophical shift.
What we're seeing too is, that's the background to it. That's the theory, the ideology that wraps around the people who have got into significant positions of influence and power. Remember, Bill English, the finance minister, came from Treasury before he became a politician in the National Party. So they all captured within that kind of environment.
And there was Don Brash as well.
Yeah, Don Brash, who was the governor of the Reserve Bank at the time. Now, clearly the calls and the intelligentsia, if you want to put it that way, overseas are saying there's got to be a different way here. The different way is intervening. Now, we see different methods of that. We saw on the weekend, for example, the Green Party leader, Russell Norman, saying basically, and putting, there are terms for this, but basically printing more money takes the heat out of the value of the New Zealand dollar. Now,
Selwyn, with that measure, the immediate retort from neoliberals is that, but that's inflationary. But I understand that the World Bank has released a report as well that says there is no inflationary threat for any economies at the moment if they go and print. Well, as long as they don't go insane. But
and clearly these things are very, very complex. For example, that particular claim by the World Bank, that can be kind of challenged from the point of view of each respective economy around will have different kind of dynamics to it that will be affected. New Zealand, very dependent on imported goods. They're very dependent on imported energy goods, commodity, for example, oil, petrol, etc. So when your dollar goes down in value, the cost of those basically goes up. So people, are having to pay for more petrol, cost more for their petrol, etc. Now that's a problem that can have upward inflationary pressures, obviously, on the domestic economy in New Zealand. But what they're talking about here is trying to address the high value of the New Zealand dollar. The IMF, for example, apparently is saying that it's 15% over where it should be. It's blown up by 15%.
And that's more than the profit margins of most exporters, I imagine.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. The New Zealand manufacturing only this morning, Business Desk, for example, which is run by Patrick Smellian, former Bloomberg reporter Jonathan Underhill. Now, it was reporting how the New Zealand's manufacturing activity shrank for the fourth month in a row up to September, as new orders fell to the lowest level since May 2009. So that's a 3-year negative trend that is occurring here. Manufacturing shrinks at a slower, it's a real problem in the manufacturing area, in the sense that the high value of the New Zealand dollar makes it more difficult for them to sell New Zealand products that are made here offshore, because the price offshore is going to be more than it would if the New Zealand dollar was down, say, around that 15%. Now, with David Parker, in an interview I did with him recently, a couple of weeks ago, he was saying, Labor hasn't talked about printing more money if it was in government. It hasn't said that it will put in a currency cap that the Reserve Bank has to actually meet within. But he's saying it would instruct the Reserve Bank to use more tools that are at its disposal to bring the currency down. And some of those, I remember talking to you this morning and about what we were going to talk about, were relating to the Reserve Bank requiring, for example, that proportion of deposit, etc., for the loans and the banks kind of moving. I think you put it in a very good way this morning.
Yeah, so for the listeners, basically, lending banks have to maintain what's a lender-deposit ratio, which basically means that for every, let's say, for instance, they have got $1 in the bank from their depositors, they can actually lend out 10 times or even 30 times what they've got in the bank. Now, of course, what that means is it fuels the demand for cheap loans. If you tighten that up, of course, it can cool down things like housing markets.
which has an effect on internal domestic inflation, like what we were talking about, those upper inflation pressures that would come from the cost of petrol going up, cooling down the housing market arguably would have a reduction effect in the domestic economy. So those are the equations that are starting to come out of those that are thinking, okay, this isn't working what the national-led government has been holding on to, this old ideology relating to letting the free market rule the currencies, basically. And also, like we were talking about with the OCR being the only mechanism that the Reserve Bank has obligated to use at the moment. So all of this being factored in, it's a common kind of debate, but it's one that's live, and for those that are interested, in your audience that are interested, it's one to really kick in on and start to follow now, because we're seeing it expressed. This clash of views, if you like, is being shown in the manufacturing area. It was surprising that the person on just before from the Manufacturers Employers group didn't actually go into this type of stuff, because it's at the heart of, obviously, of that person's group stakeholder interests. But at the same time, we're seeing it also with New Zealand currency featuring, for example, where it is against the Australian economy. It's tied obviously close to that. There are regional currency and regional economy kind of factors that need to be put in here. Now, some say, for example, that the intervening in the economy, like our major partners are doing, that it would be folly for New Zealand to get into doing that. From my point of view, just looking at this, Simon, I cannot see the logical rationale around that. If your major partners are actually intervening in their economies by some way or form of tools via their equivalent of the Reserve Bank, then surely New Zealand, it would be at its folly not to actually explore ways of protecting its own economy and currencies while the world is going that way.
Yeah, now there's actually an interesting cautionary tale here. That this about, if we go back to the start of the Great Depression, it was 1929, about 3 or 4 years, and this is exactly what happened to the world economy, where you had basically, what people don't realise, that actually international trade between, I think, 1905 and 29 absolutely exploded, and it was at similar levels to what we see now. But what actually happened is, about 3 years into the Depression, governments started reacting and discussing the things we're discussing right now. And because there wasn't a uniform approach, there was a lot of protectionism, it actually slowed down the economies even worse. So the Great Depression got greater. So just that is, it's a cautionary tale.
Of one of a different era.
This is like diffusing a bomb, basically, at the moment.
It is, and while you talk about confidence, the NZIER, which examined business and economic growth and business confidence around that, identified only 2 days ago that there has been a significant slide in business confidence. So all of this is tied in. The Bill English's finance minister announced yesterday, for example, Simon, that the national-led government had achieved a budget deficit for the last 12 months to June 30 of 9.2 billion New Zealand dollars. Now, the government spun that in the sense of saying that it was half of what last year's deficit was, of 18.4 billion. Remember, that came in on the back of the Christchurch earthquake last year. Now, Bill English is saying that obviously that's a positive. The other parties in the Parliament are saying, well, hang on a minute, that's an appalling thing to have a $9.2 billion deficit, but it's even worse in the sense that the Treasury's projections in May showed it was going to be 8.4 billion. So, like the Labor Party said, that the government had lost $800 million within a month. So these are the problems and the pressures that are there, with manufacturing going down, the currency rates not going where Bill English and the government would like them to stimulate some sort of economic response.
Yeah.
We're seeing New Zealand tailing off into negative territory once again. And this is where the cautionary kind of aspects come in, but also those who are trying to think of another way to get New Zealand back to where it was.
Selwyn, now we've actually strayed into negative territory as well. That's all the time we've got for. Hopefully, before people's cocktail conversations descend into drunken chatter about the ridges, maybe they might want to continue this conversation on. Anyway, Selwyn, we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, mate. Take care.
That was livenews.co.nz's Selwyn Manning. Of course, we were talking about the high cost of the New Zealand dollar. Right now, let's talk US presidential politics.